What's up, everybody? Tanner. You may know me from such websites such as MySpace. Here to bring you a non-canon file from
And PhotoBucket.
And PhotoBucket and DeviantArt. What's another it's weird that those websites should be considered like not obscure, but sort of obscure now.
Yeah.
What else would GeoCities? I'm from GeoCities. Facebook. Anyways, I'm Tanner, and with me, as per usual, I have
Colt.
Jonathan.
Cody. Wenzel.
A Psychopath 100.
Didn't he do this last time?
No.
I don't
Shut
know,
up, cube steak, Cody. Brown beef.
And today we are bringing you a special non-canon file to talk about Mob Psycho 102, the second season of Mob Psycho 100. And before we get started, we should say there will be spoilers.
Spoilers?
Lots
of spoilers?
For season 1 and season 2.
Spoiler, are you kidding
probably
me?
lots of spoilers.
I can't be in the same room with spoilers.
Spoilers.
There will be spoilers. So if you haven't watched Mob Psycho 102 and you're still interested in doing so, maybe you save this podcast for another time.
Go to sleep.
Yeah, just fall asleep with it. Or if you're not interested but you want to hear us talk about it, or if you have seen it and want to hear our thoughts on it, this is the episode for you.
Yep.
So it's been over by the time this comes out. It's been over for about 6 weeks at this point, maybe 5 weeks. It ended at the beginning of April. And this is like literally the first week we could like sit down and actually record something about it. So before we like go into like we dive into like some of our favorite things of this season, what did people think of this season here at the table?
I loved it. It made me want to eat my vegetables.
It was good. I liked it. I didn't love it. I'll go ahead and say that.
It was great. It was better than the first season.
Yeah,
definitely.
I would agree. Pat, what about you?
No, it was very enjoyable. I feel like I took a lot more out of the second season because I enjoyed the first Mob Psycho, but I kind of feel like once it was done, I was kind of done with it. So not to its detriment. It's kind of like, I was over. I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like with Mob Psycho 100, the first season, like when it ended, I'm like, like I would love for there to be more Mob Psycho, but if there's not, I understand it. They ended at a very good point. Like it ended at a point that made sense. But with the second season, it literally every episode builds upon each episode, which I don't even feel like happened so much in the first season. But the second season kind of also ends with like a little bit of a cliffhanger too.
I mean, if anything, the first season ended off with a cliffhanger because that's where we see Sho talking to his father, and his father's coming to Japan.
Well, okay, true, but like I'm also talking about how like you remember the last half of the last episode of Mob Psycho was like Reagan and Mob like gardening and shit.
Yeah,
that's more so of what I'm talking. Which in a way kind of feeds into this the first episode of the second season too, because they're dealing with like the tree demon or whatever. But like each episode this season was a building block for the next episode, and like it's clearly building to. I mean, I would assume there's going to be a season 3, which would be the final season. I would think, because
they could probably get a season 3, maybe a season 4, but no, definitely a season 3.
Yeah, so there's definitely story left to be told.
Yeah.
So I'm already really excited about that, but this season just had such good like pacing. Like each episode feels like it had a lot, but not too much. And it's just something that I don't really feel in anime a lot anymore is when they go they're paced really well. Mm-hmm. And yeah. I feel like this was paced really well despite having a lot per episode. And I don't know. Cody was doing some sound stuff, so
yeah, very distracting.
Yeah, very distracting to everybody at the table.
Sorry, I just had to fix that.
Talk about not having faith in Wenzel.
Everybody sound fine.
Tanner was clipping.
But But anyways,
okay.
Air him out.
But yeah, so I want to know what y'all thought of Mob.
Well, that was our thoughts.
What?
Yeah, that was it. That's the whole episode.
No, I can barely hear it myself. Okay. I liked how because at the very end when the huge fucking broccoli that sprouted from Mob's chest, that was referenced in season 1 with the opening intro. Yeah. Which was great. And like and if nobody could tell until towards the end is when like all the promotional stuff, it was teasing literally everything that the season was going to be about.
Yep.
Because with the promotional posters or teasers or whatever, it shows like the cityscape in like a cube or like in a giant mass, and it shows all the characters, literally all the characters right there. And if nobody could tell, like at the very end, that's pretty much what happened. Was Mob took the entire fucking city to attempt to kill the main villain, which was great. But yeah, no, at the very beginning, it's like you would think like, it's just gonna be Mob, you know, they're gonna be fighting several like spaced out enemies like ghosts and stuff. But no, like as soon as Mogami's arc ends, it picks up right into the main arc, which is fighting against Claw and Toichiro, which is the name of Sho's father, who leads the organization.
And yeah, because like the first 3 episodes of this season are very like slice of lifey in a way. Like, and we talked about the first episode like in depth in our winter 2019 anime review. So if you want to listen to our thoughts on that, but like it was much more emotionally impactful because like this season was definitely about Mob's growth as a character. Like, you know, he's like more emotionally developed now. I mean, he's essentially going through like the hardships of puberty, essentially. Like, oh, I like this girl. Oh, I don't know how to deal with my emotions. Oh, and stuff like that. And I think it was probably the most well done I've ever seen anything like that done in anime. And I really appreciated how, even though, I mean, this season is action packed. Like, don't get me wrong, but like the first 25% of the season are very like pretty low stakes, and like nothing super huge happens, but it's still like very important to the story. So I mean, I appreciated that a whole lot.
Oh yeah,
I liked how they brought in what I like. I don't know what I like. I forgot.
Cody was talking and then just rubbed his nose and just forgot.
No, I forgot again.
Jesus. Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say that I liked it was beautiful visually. It was very nice. But one thing that just pissed me off, not really pissed me off, it was a little annoying for me. It was like the fights felt like edging, where you can't nut, no nutting. Like you're very close on edge, but then Mob's like, I'm gonna calm down and like keep this nut inside of me.
Well, I mean,
I like action. I like the constant
I don't like
fighting.
any of this. Okay, hear me out. I liked that. I liked the fact that they turned what could have been what they did. They had a beautiful fight scene, beautiful animated fight scene, things that happen with the character. You know, they go at each other, right? They're like, fighting. That's a visual bit.
Cody clapped his fingers together, but not his palms.
Yeah.
For those at home.
So they're fighting, but then they turn that energy of the fight into character development.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw that as, and I thought that was fantastic because at the end, I mean, it was literally hinting all the way up to the end where Mob literally takes the fight and turns it into character development.
Yep.
And a giant broccoli.
fucking Naruto and all his fucking enemies, making them his friends in the end, because you gotta be friends with all your enemies.
I mean, they're human, and Mob realizes that, and also Mob doesn't like. He hasn't killed anybody, and he doesn't want to kill anybody.
He doesn't have to kill
Cultist
them.
was a bad guy.
Also, you say that about Naruto. I would say that's much more prevalent in like Dragon Ball than it is in Naruto. I mean,
I don't know if you remember the
like
Pain
Naruto-
fight. Naruto went and sought out Pain. He's like, Pain, what the fuck? I know you killed thousands of people, destroyed my village, but dude, chill out. Okay.
I do agree with Colton in that instance. Naruto seemed to be more like a way of like redeeming his enemies, but taking it back to Psycho. Well, I know when we were leading up to the final battle, to me it felt a little odd that we were about to get like this big, quote Dragon Ball Z-esque final battle. Like it seemed a bit out of Mob's character. I mean, I know it would be sort of anticlimactic and anti-fulfilling for all the action we got to not have some sort of big climactic battle, but at the same time, it would be much more Mob's character to try to reason with him the best he could, because I feel like that's one of the themes of the show is sort of like people who hurt others are somehow emotionally stunted, emotionally immature, and that was kind of very visually evident at the end of the first season when the bad guy literally during his rage resembled a squalling infant, and I feel like that's kind of the thing. Like I feel like it's a lot of times happen in anime. You want to have your cake and eat it too. You want the big ass climactic battle, but at the same time you have a story you're trying to tell and a theme you're trying to reach. So like they try to balance that somehow.
Yeah, yeah, it just can't always be like big ass battles where he like completely just annihilates the enemy. Which I mean, even in the final battle, like was pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, they were throwing whole ass like skyscrapers.
Yeah,
at each
which
other.
I was so excited for because it's just that whole like. Sorry, we're jumping into the final battle, but just that final battle, like he was literally throwing Mob was literally throwing buildings and and something I didn't like about that final battle that they did in the comic was that for the final battle, whenever Mob is changing emotions. Like, you can't really tell in the anime, but in the comic, they would show you what he was changing to. I thought that was really great. Like, he would change to 100% ecstasy, 100% rage, 100% resignation, which, fuck me, that part, 100% resignation is when he pretty much takes Toichiro and starts twisting his body. Mm-hmm. Because that's at that moment, like, Mob was like, I give up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to have to kill you.
It was definitely something I noticed during that final battle where you see, and I kind of liked it in a way, where you can see Mob going through all these different emotions, but they're all 100%, but you're not too sure what emotions.
Yeah.
Which, like, in that entire final arc, the only true emotion we know Mob feels at one point is rage. Mm-hmm. After he thinks
that's in the you're talking about
this is before like the final battle and everything,
Oh, yeah.
but like when he sees his house burning and
Yeah.
and like he sees the dead bodies of his parents and his brother, and he just goes like, all right, time to do some crimes.
Yeah.
And he just starts kicking ass like those two guys like in the middle of the street, and he just like it's the first time we see Mob like, all right, I don't like to fight, but I'm fighting.
Yeah, that's him at 100% obsession.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was 100% obsession.
Which was my favorite part in the season
Because
he was unchained and he was ready to go.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, it was great because also whenever he was searching for espers nearby, he was like found them, and Dimple was like, "You can do that."
Yeah, yeah. Talk about Dimple. Dimple is such a I mean, I know everybody loves Mob and everybody loves Reagan's the hot anime daddy, but Dimple is such a much needed character in this show.
Oh yeah,
just because like Dimple kind of represents the viewer in a way. It was like, huh,
yeah,
you can do that? That's weird. And like I really appreciate that, especially like with Dimple's whole background as a character from season 1 and like coming in season 2, and like you actually see Dimple start to develop feelings for Mob. It's like, I can't let this kid die.
Yeah,
that's kind of on me. And like we see that in the early season where he actually like takes over Mob's body, and he could theoretically possess Mob forever since he was just let in.
Yeah,
but then he doesn't.
Yeah, because it's like it's just a complete change. Like I don't even know how to explain it. It's just it's really nice because he was like a very vengeful ghost who was trying to essentially take over the world, and then even then he still says at the very beginning, he's like, man, I can't wait to take over Mob. I have to influence him, and he
even says that in like the beginning part of this season.
Yeah, so he still like has a plan to take him over, but then like eventually he kind of realized like, well, I can be more than that. We could be friends, and that's what pretty much happens, especially around the time when Reagan says some pretty awful stuff to Mob.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
So they do a whole episode this season dedicated to Reagan. It's like episode 3 or 4 maybe, or maybe it's 6 or 7. It's after
Mogami.
Yeah, it's after the Mogami stuff. So it's like 6 or 7, and like they pretty much just show like Reagan's life, like from post college or whatever.
Post like whatever business he worked at.
Post like he was like a telemarketer or whatever, and so to him opening up like the
exorcism,
the
whatever.
office. And like it shows like Reagan struggled with like being an alcoholic, and like obviously has some relationship issues with like both women and his own mother and stuff like that. And he also kind of shows that Reagan has like when Reagan wants to do something, he gets like hyper fixated with it.
Yeah,
and like we see him like forget his birthday. He's like, because he gets an email from his mom saying, "Oh, happy birthday! Here's a job application I got for you." It's like, okay, wow. and he's like, "Oh, I guess it is my birthday." And like, I don't cry. Like, I'm a pretty emotional guy. Like, if I see something that's like, "Oh my god, that's beautiful," I'll start boohooing. I bawled during that episode because at the end of the episode, after Reagan like realizes like, And during the episode, it actually also shows like Reagan sort of starts having like a rise in prominence as well. It's like, oh, Reagan destroyed Mogami, so or just like help.
He helped in taking care of Mogami, and then like you said, hyperfixation after Mob. He was like, I don't need Mob. I can build this up myself.
Yeah.
So he literally makes himself famous through the internet.
Yeah.
Which I should say, whenever he's been. Anytime we see Reagan, like before this, like after his breakup quote with Mob, and then in between, the biggest thing, like you said, that made me cry, was that Reagan seemed very lonely.
Yeah, he was lonely because he was all alone because he was getting. Like, he was like, yes, I'm famous, but, like, he was still living in his office. And like,
he forgot his birthday.
Yeah, he forgot his birthday. And, like, and then he started getting all this flack because they wanted him to do an exorcism on television.
Live, yeah.
And then old dude comes up and is like, you can't exorcise this person because they're not really possessed. And Reagan's just like, oh, shit. And then, like, this national shame. And then they do this whole
press
conference. And, like, Mob helps him, like, through the television. Like, everything just starts floating. It's like, well, I guess no questions.
Yeah.
So he just leaves, and then they reconcile. It's sweet, but it's also, like, talking about Mob's emotional development. We also see Reagan have emotional development, too. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, because, I mean, Reagan's a con man, and... I mean, it's like, and throughout the entire show, it's like he's been conning Mob, like, making him believe, oh, he's a psychic, and he's been leading him on, like, using Mob. And like,
and we see later in the season, not just Mob, because everybody's like, Master Reagan.
Yeah. No, he sort of manipulates everybody. But I mean, and then like whenever they reconcile, I just loved it when Mob said, because Reagan asked Mob like, have you known the entire time? And Mob's like, I knew.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about it.
I know that you're a good guy, and it was just bam.
Yeah.
Like it was so good because I mean,
shows Mob isn't as oblivious as we like to that we've been led to believe. It also shows that Mob, despite not showing any emotion towards him, was like, he just likes Reagan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason why he likes Reagan so much is because at the time when Mob was little and he needed help, Reagan helped him.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, Reagan has helped Mob not become accepted through society, but more so Mob accept himself.
Yeah.
Because Mob was very like Mob knew he was different at an early age, being able to do all this,
having all
psychic
the
stuff. And, he thought Reagan was for real. And then Reagan realized Mob was for real. So they formed this relationship of like, of teacher and student.
Yeah.
But it's Reagan assumes this role of power that we see. And he's just believable enough where you're like any good con man would be like, well, yeah, Reagan's the real deal.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know, it's just so sweet. But we see that Reagan genuinely cares for Mob, and Mob genuinely cares for Reagan. Because, Reagan even puts, his body on the line toward, during the final battle and stuff, and is like, all right, I'll kick ass. And there's one, who's guy with his eyes closed? What was his name again?
Shimazaki?
Yeah. So Shimazaki, at one point, senses Mob's power, and, we just see, this dark illustration of, Mob's power being so huge.
It's gigantic.
But then he's like, and there's an Esper here that his power is so big I can't sense it. And he's talking about Reagan, because Reagan just snuck up on him and punched him in the gut.
It was a self-defense rush.
Yeah, he was self-defense, whatever. And it's...
Which also kind of plays into that whole cockiness of being a psychic sort of thing. And Esper is just Reagan is in the same world, and so they assume that he plays by the same rules.
Yep.
But he doesn't. He plays by the rules of humans, and was able to overcome an Esper by not adhering to their preconceived notions of who is in the Esper community.
Yeah. Because Shimazaki used his ability called Mind's Eye, which he completely just focused on any Esper in the area on their power, and that's how Reagan was easily able to sneak up on him.
Yeah.
He didn't sense him.
Yeah. And that's the thing with Reagan, where Reagan is a con man, but he's such a con man, he believes it himself.
He believes in his own con.
Yeah, he's like, fuck it, let's go. And it's like, yeah, this dude that just leveled half the city, I'm going to go up and punch him in the gut and take him down. And he does. But in the and that sounds goofy, especially if you've never seen the show, but in the show that works.
Yeah.
So
it's also goofy, but that's on
I mean,
purpose.
it is goofy, but it's that's also I mean, the creator and the show's like brand of goofiness.
Yeah.
Like you see it a lot in one. If you don't know, the creator of Mob created One Punch Man as well. Like you see it a lot in One Punch Man as well. Where it's just, I mean, the whole premise of fucking One Punch Man is One Punch Man.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, this season, like again, should also mention the Mogami arc, which was beautifully animated in the final battle between Mob and Mogami.
Episode 5 of, if you have no interest in Mob but just like beautiful animation, which you should have an interest in Mob even if that's your selling point, go watch episode 5 of this season, because the whole episode is probably the most beautiful and most detailed 24-minute episode of an anime I've ever seen. Like, it is...
like one of the things I really liked about this animation is that I really like how I don't know, fluid's a weird word to say because I don't think it's necessarily fluid. It is fluid, but it's more they care more about the subject than they do the style in a way. I don't really know how to explain it. It's a different kind of style where it's like it's very rough, but also very put together.
Yeah.
And it's sort of kind of all torn apart, but also not really torn apart. It very much, they care about the feeling of the moment rather than the beauty of the art, and they want to get that feeling out rather than the actual, like, it be completely beautiful.
Oh, I agree.
And in a way that makes it even more beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it shows, they're trying to. Because, like, obviously, when you're dealing with art, or you're dealing with anything visual, you're trying to convey feeling, and they really did a good job at conveying the feelings of the moments within those battles where, you know, Mob is feeling a certain way, because the battles aren't just battles; they're internal battles with the characters themselves dealing with what they're doing.
And the battle with Mogami is literally an internal battle.
Yeah, because. Yeah, it literally happens inside the mind of some girl. And then there's even a part in there where Mogami puts him into this world. This is Mogami's world. He puts him in this world without any of his powers. So the entire time he's faced with problems that, like, he can't use his powers for, and makes him, and like Mogami does this to manipulate him and be like, use your powers, you know, overcome this, because there's a moment there where he's being bullied, and it's like this beautiful, like, everything just starts to just turn to liquid, and like the lines of like everybody's blurred, and it's very beautiful because like in that moment, you know, he just feel like so much is hitting at him, and he just feels so emotionally distressed. It's like everything's becoming blurry, everything's disappearing, and it's like you're just in that moment of awkward embarrassment.
And Mob lived in this world for 6 months. Like, we don't know. I don't know. Like, I assume not that much time passed in the real world. Like,
no,
obviously
it's
not.
a perceived 6 months.
Yeah. But like, he was like, to Mob, he was inside this alternate reality for 6 months, like living day to day, not using his powers, but being bullied because he was different. He was quiet. He was a little strange, and he really didn't know how to act. And then we finally see, like, you know, Dimple finally break in and helps them, and and that's the thing, like a show can be beautifully animated, but if there's no substance behind the animation, it kind of doesn't mean anything. Which we rarely see, because usually studios that put in that much effort into animation, usually they have really good stories to tell. But with Mob, like, the animation is part of the story. Like, some of the fight scenes that get, like, where the lines get a little rough, like, that represents, like, emotional distress, or like when it's black and white instead of fully colored, or when it's like more saturated color, like, it all represents something,
sort of impactful meaning.
Yeah, it's not just pretty for the sake of being pretty. Like, it has a purpose.
Yeah,
which is done in all anime. Well, most anime, most TV show, most anything with cinematography of any sort, whether it be animated or with, you know, real life. They all do that to some degree, but Mob does it in a special kind of way that you don't really see in other anime, and I think that's really important. At least, I think that's really important for the narrative. It really helps progress the narrative.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, still going off the Mogami fight, because, I mean, whenever at the very end, when Dimple breaks through and is talking to Mob, it's like Mob is still faced with, like, using his powers, like, to help him out of this situation, but, like, he realizes, like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm gonna use kindness and compassion to defeat this enemy, which is, like, wow. because there's the cruelty that's given upon Mob. It's like why wouldn't you use your powers, especially like what was happening? I think he was being beat up or whatever, and then like Dimple comes through and like tells him like, hey, you've been stuck in this world, and that's when Mob snaps out of it and like goes into this 100% bravery, I think, and it's beautiful. And even Dimple doesn't recognize him at some point, which I think is funny.
And no, it's actually really funny because Dimple's like, yes, like embrace it, and Mob like gets super muscular like all the people in the bodybuilding club.
Yeah,
and it's like really funny,
and his eyes even change color too.
Yeah, and Dimple's like, well, maybe calm the body part down. He's like, oh, and he just shrinks back down. It's really good.
Yeah, very very good. But yeah. And then even later, Mogami appears again towards the end to even help Mob, and like Mogami is pretty bad. He's like before Mob and before the leader of Claw, he was like one of the most powerful espers in the world. Yeah, and he was so powerful and so full of hate that he became a spirit, one of the most powerful spirits too. Because at the very end, these people that were Claw, they break him out essentially because he's in this little bottle, and he comes over and takes over like all these plants that one of the enemy espers was using, and just completely overpowers them, and he's like a towering giant. It was just a very good moment where Mob is talking to him, and he's like, Mob is trying to tell him that people can change, I mean, this guy, he will stop doing bad things, and Mogami's like, you can't just always be nice, you have to be hard. Yeah. If you can do that, then you'll be invincible. Yeah. And then Mogami just disappears forever.
Yeah, we definitely see like a lot more, like obviously Mogami's trying to like tutor Mob to be like more like Mogami was.
Yeah, but even in this moment, Mogami's like, he even knows that Mob is more powerful than him.
Oh yeah.
So like that I just thought that was interesting that a character who is obviously evil just completely switched sides and like, I'll help you.
And see, I don't even know if it's so much as switch sides as Mogami just sort of has like a respect for Mob.
Yeah, like because like if Mogami and Mob exist in the same world, there's nobody else. I mean, if Mob would be the one to oppose Mogami, and it's like, he could stop him no matter what. Yeah, and I guess that's just the respect for that level of power.
It also shows that Mogami. I can't remember how Mogami got to that situation at the very end.
Are you talking about
how did he end up there at that battlefield?
One of the ex-members of Claw, he captured Mogami after he got released out that girl, and he was like, I'm gonna keep him as one of my pets, and then he tried to help Mob with his spirits, but he was defeated, and they took his little jar and then threw it and like, haha, fuck you, and then they all almost fucking died.
Yeah, like literally everybody but Mob got captured, and Mob's like, hey, don't do that,
yeah,
bud. But it's something to me about like again the whole dynamic is we see that because last season it was more of like Mob's only real, I don't want to say role model. Well, I mean role model last season, but I wouldn't use role model this season, was Reagan. Like Reagan was the only one influencing him. But obviously we've seen like Mob took some lessons away from Mogami, such as sometimes you can't be nice to everybody. Like you have to be firm. Yeah. That was the main lesson he took away from Mogami is you have to be firm. Like you have to firm but fair, essentially.
And plus, I feel like even Choichiro made a comment that echoed that at the very end, that if you don't stand up for yourself, you'll be easily taken advantage of your entire life. That's what he's saying to the Parasol guy.
Yeah.
Yep. Like it's one of those situations like, well, if you don't stand up for yourself, who will? And it's very much like we see that this season with Mob and several characters, really. Like even going back to the first episode with him and the girl that was dating him as a dare.
Yeah.
And I don't like stuff like that. Like the fact that it's such a coherent story, like it's 12 episodes, so it's not, I mean, you can binge it in 4 hours if you wanted to. I couldn't imagine handling all those emotions in 4 hours, but if you want to go off, I guess. But it's so rare that you get, especially an animated show, like more or less just anything that comes on television that makes you care about so many characters, and like so many characters have redeeming qualities, but they're all not necessarily good people. Like Reagan technically wouldn't be considered a good person, but he is a good person, and like that's what I appreciate a lot about Mob, is how it's not just like Mob and friends. It's truly Mob, everybody. Like everybody has some sort of redeeming quality to them, and it's like it's kind of up to Mob to be like the emotional key in a way, even though he doesn't have a handle on his emotions himself.
Yeah, like I mean that's even what it was Reagan who said that what makes Mob so powerful is not because of his powers, but because of saying what's on his mind.
Yeah.
Speaking true from the heart. And I love that about Mob. And like when you were saying about him being fair, it's like at the very end, whenever he went to go face Toichiro, I mean, he told all the Espers that were with him, especially the ex-members of Claw, because like you said, like they were the bad guys of the first season. I mean, they tried to kill Mob, but then at the very end, Reagan and even Mob were like, hey, don't do that. So, and then they ended up instead try to lead normal lives, but come together to fight this common enemy. And I like you said, just being able to redeem because these characters don't have to be killed or like defeated in such a harsh way. Like they can be redeemed, and I love that about this season. Yeah.
I mean, where does like everybody stand on like how they like? Did everybody think they did a good job like with Mob emotionally? Like, did everybody like? I mean, I like you can have your thoughts about like the battles and stuff, but like I like as an emotional, like watching the show from an emotional standpoint, like did it resonate with any of you at all?
Oh yeah, especially at the end when he faced Toichiro and like he pretty much had him cornered, because after he twisted his body into very inhuman form, Toichiro like released so much power it almost killed Mob, but then Mob was able to sort of rein it in. But but Toichiro went to his human form, but he was still releasing so much energy that he would have destroyed the city. And Mob stayed behind and was like, to leave you here to die, that's just too sad. And it was just nice to see that in that moment, Mob was trying to figure out what happened in his life, and then at the very end, he tells Toichiro that I am the protagonist of my life, and that really hit me. Like, it's not yeah.
I'm gonna start crying right here.
No, I mean I mean like
Literally,
literally
a giant broccoli.
there's like and then there's giant broccoli in the middle of the city. There's like 4 or 5 episodes this season that like made me cry or put me on the verge of tears.
Yeah,
and like I don't feel that a lot.
Not with most of the anime we watch is super. It's either really existential, or it's like super surface level, where the existential stuff is like, oh fuck,
it hits hard.
Where the super surface stuff is like, hell yeah, cutting swords. Mob somewhere hits in the middle, which I don't necessarily know if we've watched an anime like that in a while, where it's like hits in the middle and it's not corny as shit.
Yeah,
like Naruto's corny as shit. I don't care. Like it's wonderful, but it's corny as hell.
It's super corny. Yeah, everybody becomes gods at the end. I mean,
it's not end yet.
Oh yeah.
Everybody is at a god by the time Naruto Shippuden ends, and then now it's their kids that are probably going to become stronger than them.
Yeah.
So
turn up, brother.
But yeah, I just love that. Like that just says like it's not saying that like the world revolves around you, but it's more like you lead your life.
Yeah, you got to take care of you, which I really liked. Pat, how did it resonate with you?
I feel like that line where Mob said at the end, I am the protagonist of my own life, that really illustrates how far he's come in his own emotional journey, because he started off as this lonely child, and it's one of this weird, almost self-induced loneliness, because he's so afraid of what his powers were, and he was afraid to face his emotions. And like I said in the past, buried emotions, they don't die, they only come back as something worse. And for him to acknowledge how he feels in a healthy way, that really not only transforms his life in a way that he's not actually actively doing it, just happens by accident, and that ends up spreading and influence all the other people around him.
Yeah, I love that.
But it was just great to see him sort of come into his own and acknowledge the feelings he has, and to be more proactive in his own life. Because I feel, and plus what we said about standing up for yourself, because it's as great as it is to have people you can rely on to protect you and help you out. At the end of the day, there's still moments in your life where you have to stand on your own 2 feet. Mm-hmm. And as much as you appreciate your friends and family, the people that love you, that will stand up for you, they won't always be there for you, because not that they're going to leave you. It's just there are times where you have to do what's necessary for you. That nobody can do the heavy lifting in your life for you. You still have to do. It's still your life. You still have to do the things yourself. There are people there to help you and accentuate you, but at the end of the day, it's still your life. So there are things that only you can do. And I feel like that was a great story they showed, and how just like I guess conversation and empathy are two key things that have transformative properties, because it may feel a bit naive to say everyone can be redeemed. I don't know if that's true, but I feel more often than not with time that can happen. And a dead person, they can't be redeemed. They can't change their ways. And but a person who, I feel like to kill somebody, you let them off easy, because they can't change or whatnot. So I feel like
they can't take their punishment. They can't think. They can't reflect on anything.
Because punishment is less about, because that makes you think about. I mean, it makes you think about greater things in the world. But punishment, like what Colt said about punishment, what you said about like if you just kill somebody, you're basically ridding the world of them, and it doesn't allow for it allows for them not to grow. Because like what punishment should be is a way to understand your reasonings, your motives, and growing from them, not to feel bad or be, you know what I'm saying, not
stunted.
Yeah, by your problems.
But there's also got to be a point where you're like, you've done so many bad things.
Yeah,
I don't give a fuck. You've killed and you've hurt thousands. I don't even know how big that city was. I would say there was millions of people in that city.
Oh yeah, no.
And there's most likely.
Oh no, that's what
they've evacuated. Yes, but his intent was to rule the world.
I mean, no. They even said at the very end, Toichiro, like he displaced thousands of people, destroyed homes and businesses. I mean, that's even why Mob like almost was very mad at Shimazaki, because Shimazaki was like, I just did this for fun, and Mob was like, you destroyed the homes of thousands of people just for fun. And then this when Shimazaki disappears because he got scared.
But the thing is, though, is that like he ended up dying. But the thing is, though, is just because
Toichiro,
he
didn't die.
He didn't die.
They let him away.
Yeah.
They mentioned he had a possibility of being executed, but that wasn't like confirmed. Basically, he was just taken into like custody.
Yeah, Joseph took him. Yeah, they just took him into custody.
Oh, so he survived.
Yeah.
So
because Mob was able to contain all the energy,
but he lost his powers because
Toichiro?
Because Mob, when he had that huge explosion of power, did Mob not absorb his powers? So Mob now has Toichiro's powers, and he's just human?
all of the energy that Toichiro released went straight into the broccoli seeds.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
came
yeah.
out. So everybody still has powers.
Okay.
So he's like,
just making sure.
The thing is, though, is that like now because his power is fueled by the buildup that he has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So his powers are fueled by buildup of like emotion. So now he has a chance to build up a different emotion, which I think is good. I think, but I mean, just because someone did something bad or someone did a bunch of bad, of course, if you're dealing with a psychopath, I mean, like it just depends on the situation. But at the same time, it's like you can't necessarily, just because they do a bunch of bad shit doesn't necessarily mean that you should lose your humanity to them.
Well, it's one of those things too. Is like what would be a better like justice for the people? Just like killing them, letting them off easy, or letting them sit, think, kind of like Toichiro's going to do, reflect on like what they've done, and pretty much become a prisoner of their own thoughts in a way, and be like, man, and you kind of see that with Toichiro, like towards the end where he's like talking to Sho, and it's something that's like I'm glad this 13-year-old isn't just going around killing people because he deemed fit. Like that's kind of not his
style.
Not his style, but also not his place to judge.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
So
we had a whole anime about why that's bad. Death Note.
yeah. So everybody knows Mob has watched Death Note. Talks about it all the time.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah. He loves Willem Dafoe.
That's why everybody got scared.
But that's kind of the whole point of like it is more about like that's sort of like taking responsibility for your actions, because a lot of these bad guys they blame their society. We live in a society, they blame their problems on the rest of the world rather than trying to take, and there are a lot of problems with the rest of the world, but at the same time it's less of like, well, what are you doing to change that? What are you doing to make that difference? Who are you to make that difference, sort of thing. And Mob is sort of that person who's like, that person who kind of lays down that moderation in a way, and he comes in and he's just like, yeah, but these people don't deserve this.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the world sucks, but come on, dude, don't do this.
Yeah, Mob is very grounded.
And that's, well, like all Japanese 13-year-olds. Which, by the way, when I was in the airport in Tokyo, school of Japanese boys just running through the hallways punching shit. It was,
Hell yeah.
I was like, wow, you guys would be arrested in the U.S.
That's awesome. You didn't tell us about that.
I forgot about that until just now.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
But so I mean, on that, anybody have any final thoughts on Mob Psycho 102?
In season 3, I hope they explore 100% horny.
You know what? They might.
You know what? I mean, he is hitting puberty, so I mean, he's 13.
I thought 100% ecstasy was weird. Like, what a weird ecstasy.
Wait, do we ever get confirmation that he used that in the anime? Like, does it ever on screen say 100%?
No, but
Yeah.
whenever he's laughing and fighting,
That's what it's implied to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like elation. It's like, I mean, like, they don't mean ecstasy as in, like...
I mean that's what they called it in the
yeah,
comic.
but, like, ecstasy has this, like, connotation toward, like, sexualness, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. It mostly... It's like ecstasy is, like, elation, enlightenment.
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
yeah,
like
of course.
At a different level of, like, it's beyond happy, but not really happy. It's like a
On the
higher...
cusp?
It's like the highest level of contentment, I guess. I
Yeah.
don't really know.
Yeah.
It just represented that moment that he kind of gave in to like his emotions, and like he was really feeling like he wanted to fight and destroy as much as Shoichiro did. So like you said, he ran the gamut of emotions in that fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very good season.
Very, very good.
I mean, I'm just going to give a spoiler right now. Like, it's on the Anime of the Year docket, so we'll definitely be talking about it again at some point. But if you listen to this and had never seen Mob, like Jonathan,
Yep.
I highly suggest you watch the first 2 seasons. I mean, again, like even watching it at a moderate pace, you can finish it in a week or two. And I think it's very much worth the ride because it's just so jam packed of emotion that like you don't see in. Especially like short form media. Like, I mean, you can get that in movies now, but like, I mean, it's like Mob's sending you like 23-minute episode bursts a week. So I hope it's not 3 seasons until the next season. So, or 3 years till the next season. I hope it's not 3 years till the next season. So on that note,
Horny, no 3 years. That's all I want.
yeah, that's the only notes.
Wow, who knew that Mob would teach us so much about prison reform?
Thank you everybody for listening to this Mob Psycho 102 non-canon file. If you like this episode, you can leave us a like, a review, a subscription, a rating on any of our services we're available on, such as SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Overcast, all that sort of stuff. You can find, I mean, if you're listening, you already know, but if you don't know, All You Can Hear podcast, search it. You can follow us on Twitter at AYCH Podcast, where just shit posts there, I guess. I don't know. Just onion nuggets. Bring them
Onion
back.
nuggets are just
It's
they're
funny.
just onion rings, but made differently.
Well, it's funny too because this episode comes out in like 2 weeks. So
I
by
know.
then that tweet will be. By
What
the,
drives me insane, or what makes me happy, I guess I should say, is there's some tater tots out there that are made with little pieces of
that
onion
have
in them.
onion in it.
And
Yeah,
it's like,
They're good.
yeah, they're awesome.
that's
Yeah.
not 100%.
And like the bow rounds at Bojangles.
Ooh!
Hell,
Boy.
those be hitting different.
Yeah.
But anyways, you can follow us on Twitter at AYCH Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at AYCH Podcast. Follow us on twitch.tv/AllYouCanHear, where Saturday, May the 25th, from 6 p.m. to midnight Central Standard Time, I will be taking the reins and playing Sekiro for 6 hours because we hit our 200 follower goal by our 2-year anniversary. So on May 25th, I will be Colton Winslow will be there. Other people may be there. Pat may be there. I don't know. But I'll be playing Sekiro for 6 hours blind because I've
Yep.
never played it.
Yeah, he'll be blindfolded.
And then Winslow and I just be mad at him.
Yeah,
the whole
Colton
time.
Winslow will be yelling at me for 6. It will be a fun time. So go follow us, twitch.tv/AllYouCanHear, and you can follow me, Tanner, at Twitter or on Twitter at Tanner1495. Wow, after 120 something pieces of audio, you would think I would know how to plug my own Twitter.
Even a monkey falls from a tree.
Yeah.
You know, the broken clock, right twice a day. That doesn't fit here, but I said it.
My name is Colt, and you can follow me on Twitter at ColtD00. Whip.
My name's Jonathan, and bye.
Oh God.
Fuck.
There is a giant turd where he was
Every time.
Every time. My name is Cody. You can follow me at CODDOC11. That's CODDOC11 on Instagram and Twitter. But just follow me on Instagram.
I'm Wenzel. Thank you for listening. You can follow me on Twitter at WinzyWilkie. You can follow my art Instagram at World of Winsy. I'll probably have a post up for this episode. It looks good. I don't know. Dimple with Sarah Zala's hair on his head.
Thank you.
This is Pat, and I'm feeling 100% gratitude for you all listening. You can follow me on Instagram at John Lost His Name. You can follow my art on Facebook at John Lost His Name Art.
And thank you, and we'll see you next time.